So this is my fun VW van motif. This one has the sunset in the background. I have another one with the mountains. It's the same basic thing, so I think you'll be able to figure that one out too by watching this video. So I'm going to start with my VW bug here, and I'm going to, this got a little bit of yellow in there, so I'll take that out. It's a good thing about cleaning your brush in between is you don't end up with little messes like that. Now, I'm going to go over this. I'm going to probably tone that down a little bit. Adding some sand ridge out of this woodland set. You can make your van any color that you would like. And we're just going to go and cover each of these areas. I usually like to build them up using the line as a way to maintain the dimension in the vehicle. So you can go right over it if you want to. I usually do that and leave a little white line there. And just do each of these the same way. Now I'm adding a little bit of blue because this is turning out a little greener than I wanted. So I'm just coming over while it's wet and adding another layer quickly here. It's good to use your piece of paper that I've included to just make sure ahead of time you've got the colors that you really like before you get started, so you don't have to improvise as much. Whoop. Really went over the top on that one. Let's test that out. So it's pretty blue or green there. These are not brand new vans, so in this case, I'm going to use that kind of rusty color to my advantage to make it look like it has had a lot of fun trips to the beach over all of the years. Dabbing in some color there. Now I'm going to give that a rest and we'll work on our sand down here. See, I don't like how that's pulling, so I'll move some of that around and off to the sand. I'm going to put a thin layer of water across here. I've got a little line if you want to use it as this kind of beach line. And come around here. It's good to go ahead and get this sand done and dry before we even get to the black wheels so that they don't bleed. And you can do it very smooth or put a little bit of inconsistencies in here to make it look more textured. You could also make this a road, because I know in California they've kind of got the parking lot, then the sand and water, so it could be down. And it's foreshortened and can't see everything that's happening here, if you're in California, that is. Daytona Beach, you can drive on the sand. Or in our imagination, we can do whatever we want. Our van can drive on the sand anywhere. Okay. So now we'll work on the sky. It's going to go inside these windows. These are vents that I saw in I think the clip art reference that I used for this one. So I'm going to use my bigger brush, gets the coverage on there a little quicker. And I'm going to put a thin layer of water. I've got my paint kind of ready so that I can just lay in that color. I'm putting this thin layer so that my paper doesn't buckle too much. And I'm going to come in here and pop, if that's dry, pop a little water into that. Now, for my sky, I'm going to make it kind of muted, so I want a lot of water here as far as the amount of pigment. Really breaking it apart so that you see the white of the paper through there rather than a high concentration of pigment. And I'll come in here now and start to fill that in, and I kind of still want to get a horizontal stroke here. If you lay it in a circle or up and down, just go back in and kind of pull it side to side so it really looks like a sky that has a horizon. And now I can just kind of, I'm going to turn it this way so that I can see what I'm doing. I don't want a bunch of squiggles here, but it's a way to kind of get the paint down. But we want to go over it so that I don't leave some weird shaped lines that do not look like clouds. I'm going left to right, popping in a little more color. Now I'm going to, while it's still wet, pull in. I did a little bit to kind of get that gold color. I kind of made this either sunrise or sunset, depending on if you're in California on this side of the world, East Coast where I'm at. And we're gonna make sure to pop some through the window here and on the other side. And I'll get a little bit of green with that blue, so if you want to leave some of the white space and then use that where you kind of put your color in, but I like it to kind of blend a little bit, so. And I'll take a tiny bit of this hibiscus, which is an added one to this kit, and I put a little bit of sand in it just to kind of tone it down since it's so bright. And sand ridge, I should say, this tan color that we used for our sand. And I'll pull that away. This will have a space for a mat to put in a frame over here, so that won't really show, but you can go all the way to the edges if you want to be sure you've got everything covered. And we'll let that be for now. I can come back in and do a little bit of detail work after it dries, but I needed to get these areas in here before it dried, and it's a little bit tacky still, but not soaking wet. I can add some more of that sunset type look. And I'm waiting to do the sun until that sky dries. So we can come in here now and do the ocean, and I've picked this other blue, and I'll come in here and do my horizon line like so. This is my fat brush, so I will clean that off and save that till later, because I don't really care for the line I got. It's a little bit thick. And now I'm going to put some stripy lines that have different line weights in it, going back and forth, kind of some touching each other, different amounts of pigment. Just kind of match the two sides, and you don't want too much white at the van, so you want to make sure the van looks like it's in the foreground. really, we could have come in here before we did this side. I would come over here and sort of pop in, like we did with the sky, a little bit of that foxberry in this kit. And see, it's not blending as much as it would had I done it before I did this side. So I'm coming back and just putting a little bit of, squeezing a little bit of water just to loosen those up and make them less like a stripe. And now I'll come in here and get a little bit of this hibiscus plus sand mixture. Like so. And I'll get a little bit over here just to make that look a little more authentic. And I didn't put it over here, kind of have it coming from this area as the sun comes up, and kind of leaves that pathway of light and reflection. Okay, and now I'm going to paint my sun. If this is dry enough, you'll have to judge that. All right, now we would be ready to do the tires. I have this, what's called shadow, this black in here. And you may just want to make sure your brush isn't too loaded with water so that it doesn't get everywhere. I'm going to come in here and just follow that tire line. I kind of paint a little bit like a marker. Like so. When you paint your sand, if you want to go ahead and paint your hubcaps if you want to, my drawing didn't have that, that'd probably be the better time to do it. Using a gray or a lighter version of that black. And I have this gray in here, so I'll come in here. I'm going to make the bumper kind of a silvery gray. I just kind of add a little bit of a shadow across here. Maybe over here, put something behind this. And then I can go over these if I feel like it. I kind of give that shadow feeling here.